That's right. I was making some phone calls around to businesses in the area just to check on how people were doing, if they were on lockdown, what they saw. And I was able to speak with a local employee there at the Skinology. She said she heard the gunshots and she actually took a video from the door of her establishment, which is on the other side of the CVS in kind of a strip mall kind of parking lot area. I do want to warn our viewers that you are going to hear gunshots. You are going to see some of the officers, and it can be intense emotional moments. But go ahead and take a listen. You can see the officer there at the corner of the CVS is turning around the corner and shooting at someone or something there in the street. We do know that there have been injuries, there have been fatalities here, and so we don't know exactly if any of those gunshots did hit anyone. But I also want you to hear from her. Her name is Makia Jones. Listen to we're actually going to play that here as soon as we can get to it, but I just wanted to describe kind of what she heard there. She said it happened in 2 rounds. She said about 4 gunshots each is what she initially heard coming from somewhere on the street. So she believes that must have been in front of the CVS. And then what she recorded there happened about 5 minutes after those initial gunshots, when she says the officers engaged in a shootout with someone on the other side. We are not sure if those officers were hit at all. She said she did not see that, but she did say that it has been quiet since. None of the officers have come up to her business and spoken with them. She says she called and canceled all the rest of the appointments, and she now is just trying to kind of process what she saw and what she heard. At the time, guys, she's just feet away from this taking place, and she did not know that anybody had actually died.
So she's describing 2 different sets of gunfire?
She initially says she heard what she believed was an automatic repeating gunshot at least twice. She believes about 4 times each, for a total of around 8 to 10 gunshots. That was the initial of what she heard. And then this video that she took was at 5:03 p.m. where she said she heard and then looked and saw the police in this shootout where you heard those gunshots there that just kind of kept going as he turned around the corner.
And Anastasia, we know you and the rest of the Investigates team helped to coordinate actually a phone interview as well with another person from a nearby business who worked at a nearby restaurant. And this is falling in line a bit with what she said, where she said she heard at least 10 gunshots. And she said she was right next to this CVS, if not maybe just a few doors down, and all of her restaurant having to essentially shelter in place, hiding in the back of the kitchen. So what I think it sounds like is consistent across all of these reports is that there were several gunshots, at least 10 gunshots or close to it.
And are you hearing most of this was outside the CVS?
Right. So initially, you know, when we looked at the footage of the officers pointing their guns, it looked like they were pointing into the CVS. And so originally we thought the shooting had occurred inside the CVS, which we don't know, you know, where it may have led. But she, according to what she was filming right there, they were shooting, as you could see, onto the street. Something was right there on the street. And as we know, across from that CVS is the university and the CDC building. We did see those photos of the bullet holes in the windows of the CDC. So those original shots, we're not sure exactly where those went.
And I do want to kind of give a little perspective as to what we're seeing right now. This is across from the CVS, obviously on the other side where these shops and apartments are, but it's on the other side of this CVS. That's where Clifton Road is. Right. And if you have been joining us here on Atlanta News First since the beginning, it is on the other side that you saw almost what looked like white columns and a staircase, and that is where we saw law enforcement positioning themselves. And Blair, at one point, we saw dozens of law enforcement officers, guns drawn, approaching the entrance from the other side. So where we are appearing to see a law enforcement officer engaging with someone or something, as you said, Anastasia, inside, it was on the other side that we saw law enforcement going up the stairs and entering the CVS through that way.
Well, and we don't know what happened before that video, too. Sure. I mean, think about how long it takes to get your phone, get your camera going, actually take the video, and while you're hearing gunfire.
You know, I'm looking back at my timestamps, and we started hearing about a shooting here around 5 o'clock, right? We weren't sure. We were still on air. We just weren't sure what was, you know, reportable. But about 5:04 is when I got the first message from my management that something was going on. And if that video took place at 5:03, and the video that we saw from the chopper, that must have been well 20 to 30 minutes after. So this would have definitely been the initial shooting that took place.
And that is why these accounts from Atlanta News First viewers are so helpful, because it helps us to sort of paint this timeline as we wait to get more word officially from law enforcement, but it allows us to paint a better picture of the scene there today.
You know, even one of my colleagues on the investigative team, Atlanta News First Investigates, we were sending out texts. We were, you know, looking and searching, and one of our colleagues, he just messaged his friend that works at the CDC, and he had said, you know, I'm hearing about this, and the friend hadn't heard anything about it yet.
Gosh.
I don't know exactly where that friend was, but an employee that works in the building had still not even heard when we had heard, and then that's when he forwarded us, you know, some of the language that was going out about an active shooter and a lockdown. But this information coming out so fast, and us just, you know, making phone calls, trying to see, are people okay? Are you on lockdown? And, you know, that sushi restaurant that we spoke to earlier saying, yeah, we had customers in here, we were on lockdown, and as I was on the phone with her, a man was talking to her while I was on the phone with her, and she said, it's the police. The police were talking to her as I was talking to her, and so we're really trying to learn what's going on as it's happening.
We are getting just little bits and pieces of information. As we have said, we know that an officer has lost their life today. We do not know which department they were with, but we have learned that everyone from the Atlanta Police Department is okay. Atlanta Police says all of their officers are all right. We do know they are leading now this investigation. So again, still unclear the identity of the officer, what department they were with, but we do know they were not from Atlanta Police.
We also know the suspected shooter is dead in all this, and so, but whatever else happened outside the CVS before or after the video Anastasia was just showing us, what may have happened inside that CVS, because as you were pointing out, Carly, we saw law enforcement officers with their guns out, pointed at what looked like the front door of that CVS, aiming toward that. So it concerns me what was happening inside that store.
And Anastasia, I've just been told that we actually have the sound from who you spoke with. Let's go ahead and play that now.
Okay, great.
It wasn't until the police officers, it was like 4 to 5 police officers running back and forth trying to get him, and it was 3 who were really silent. But the main person that you can see, he was the main one shooting at the actual perpetrator, but there was like 2 to 3 other people that were there as well. And it was very distinctively like near semi-automatic, like back-to-back banging. So it's like do-do-do-do-do-do-do, it paused, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, it paused again, do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Like, I've never heard anything like that before.
Guys, when I finished that interview with her, the only thing I walked away with immediately in my head was the sound that she was making right there, the do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, because she was replaying what she had heard in that video, and then she was explaining that the officers were going around the corner. You hear it there, and that was all that was replaying in her head. And these active shooter situations, I mean, can be so jolting to whoever's watching and listening, and they don't know what's going on, but all she could see was officers ducking for cover there. She described at least 3 to 5 of them on this side of the CVS, and this is on the opposite side of that main street. And she said that this officer here that you see on the corner is shooting at someone standing in the street. She said she took this video at 5:03, about 5 minutes after she heard initial automatic, what she said sounded like several gunshots, is how she described it there, happening on the street there on that corner. Really powerful interview with her. She completely was composed and just said, she told one of the customers, you know, hey, this just happened on the street, and I just want you to be safe, and canceled the rest of the appointments there. And she said, as of right now, there's still helicopters flying over. She said she can still hear them, and the street is still blocked off.
Anastasia Olmos with Atlanta News First Investigates. Thank you so much for getting that interview for us. We know that's a terribly difficult thing for someone to have to relay, as you mentioned, going through the shock of that situation and just trying to articulate it as best they can.